Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio, episode 49, Embodiment and Ecstatic Dance with Donna Carrol. And this episode is coming out probably, like day 953, or what feels like, of the coronavirus quarantine. And I've been mentioning this in the past few episodes. I created free checklist. It's more of a to-do list, but it helps us set our intentions for the day because we are so interconnected around our schedule, around the busyness, around everything in our life that affirms who we are. And being stuck at home in most places around the world and not really leaving for anything other than to get food, it's a lot to hold yourself together, not only your work, your family, your own mental health. So I created this really easy worksheet, but it is simple, but it is just as powerful. And it's called the Daily Intention Checklist. And you get to learn how to set up your day on your own terms. And how empowering is that? And you start the worksheet, and it's completely digitally editable on, your PDF reader or an Adobe Acrobat program on your computer or your phone, so no need to print. But you start each day, and there's a question at the top of every page. It says, how do I want to feel today? And that is very intentional for me putting that first, is because before we start to dive in the to-dos or the to-shoulds, as I like to call them, we need to check in with ourselves. Not asking maybe how do I feel right now, but asking what I want to be, who would I want to be at the end of the day, or who would I want to be the whole day? How do I want to feel? What do I need to embody? And you can write a feeling, a phrase, a thought, maybe a quality or a person that you want to feel like today. And the first page I've separated into 3 categories: for myself, home or work, and what I need to let go of or stop doing. And the purpose of this is that you create small little checklists under each of those categories to feel more like your initial question or intention of how I want to feel today. And then I included a second page, which is the exact same thing as that, but you are in control of what categories in your life that you want to put in there. So I created this because we are our own sovereign beings. And my truest, deepest desire is that all of us realize this. And it is not a responsibility to bear lightly, but it's a responsibility of love, not only to ourselves, not only to our families, but to humanity. And I think this time is more poignant than ever to continually checking in with ourselves, continually calling ourselves out on our own ish, being able to observe how we are acting, how we are behaving, how we are being, and even when it's not that great, and to be introspective and present enough to be aware that I need to change something. That is going to move mountains, my friend. So if you are interested in this daily intention checklist, please head over to my website, laurenchalantani.com/intention. And again, that's laurenchalantani.com/intention. And don't you worry, it is all linked in the show notes below. So back to today's show, we talk about ecstatic dance and embodiment practices with the founder, Donna Carrol, of Ecstatic Dance in Oakland. But ecstatic dance is offered all over the world. And we dive into Donna's backstory, how she went from Ohio, which is my home state as well, to traveling west, and to now creating and hosting all of these beautiful ecstatic dances all over the world. Full embodiment. What does that mean? How does that feel like? Tapping into your own body's wisdom, asking how to be present, learning how to be less nice. What does intuition feel like in your body? Feeling all of the feels. Is ecstatic dance for you? The flow state and tapping into your wisdom centers, learning how to channel your work, how to go slow in order to go fast, and so much more. I so enjoyed talking with Donna, episode number 49. Please enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio. And today we are chatting with Donna Carrol, and she is the creator and founder of Ecstatic Dance. This is going to be a fun episode to tune into today. So welcome to the show today, Donna.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Me too. I love meeting so many beautiful people through this show. And small world, we're both from the same city. And I got so excited. It's like these little kisses from the universe. And when you meet these people on here, we're all connected. Small world. But you are not in Columbus any longer. That is a few lifetimes ago. So if you kind of want to give us a rundown of your backstory and how you got from Columbus, Ohio to now creating this huge, beautiful movement that is ecstatic dance.
Yeah, sure. That's quite a story. I'm going to give you all the short version. I just wrote my memoir, and that's the long version if you want to read more. But the short version is, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and this was over a decade ago now, and I was just living this life that was not authentic to me. I felt like I was living for somebody else. And I had come to this apex in my career, actually, where I had finally accomplished all of the things that I wanted to accomplish. You know, I was at a point where I'm like, wow, I'm actually have some sort of success, and I'm married and I have a house, and my husband and I were talking about having kids. And then all of a sudden, my whole system was like, no. It was like, I just really kind of just had this freak out of just I am so not happy. And then there's no reason why I should be not happy. And, but I can't, I just couldn't physically do it anymore. So I kind of exploded my life at that point in time. I had this point where I was just crying on my bathroom floor day after day after day. And I was just freaking miserable. And I was like, whatever, I don't care. I'm quitting everything, and I'm going to go and try to find just to feel better. Actually, I wasn't even looking for purpose. I was just trying to feel better at that point in time. And so I quit my marriage and my job and sold my house all within a month time frame, and made my way out to California. And I remember thinking the only thing that I wanted was to be able to wear yoga clothes every day if I wanted to. And so yoga was it was a really important part of my life at that point in time. It kind of was a little bit of a North Star for me, guiding my way. And so I went on a yoga outing in Yosemite with a friend of mine. And we discovered acro yoga together. And from there, I fell in love with it. And acro yoga is partner yoga. And I just fell in love with the connection and the physicality of it and the touching of it. And decided to take a yoga teacher training in Hawaii 3 months later. And so 3 months after that, I found myself in Hawaii taking this acro yoga teacher training. And while I was there, I discovered ecstatic dance. And it was an experience I'd never experienced before. So I walk into this huge it was like a tent, and it had a wooden floor on it. And there were 200 people in there, and everyone was dancing like crazy. And there was a DJ playing, and they told me when I walked in, they're like, there's no talking, and leave your shoes here. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. But through this practice of ecstatic dance and this practice that was like a church for a lot of people, I just started to come in contact with myself and like understand who I was. And it was really fascinating because it happened from the inside out. It was like, my body was telling me who I was. My body was telling me like, yes, keep doing this, keep dancing because you need this. And so I went back again and again and again, and I stayed on the Big Island for 3 months after the teacher training, and I danced twice a week there, and it changed my life. It totally changed my life. And it was the first time that I felt free in my life, like freedom of expression. It was the first time I listened to my body. And I came back to the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area, and I was like, I need this in my life. And I kept looking for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And there was things that were kind of like it, but I was like, you know what? Ecstatic dance has this really big energy and this really bassy electronic music, and there's like a grit to it that I really needed. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to create it. And I was hoping that somebody else would create it. I kept telling all my friends, like, hey, there's this thing, you should do this, you need to create this. But then eventually one day I woke up, I was like, oh crap, I'm the one that has to create this. So I started it, and I started in Oakland at the same place it is now in Oakland. And it's grown and grown and grown, and it's been happening in Oakland since 2008. And a few years ago, I started training people on how to start dances, and people have started dances on their own without the training. And so it's just sparked this whole movement of people dancing ecstatically and dancing without talking and with an intention of really getting closer to their true essence and who they are.
Oh yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own dance parties in my living room, but like what you said, it's like going to church, it's like a religious experience. It's such a beautiful space.
Yeah, it's like a religious experience for people who really like have a hard time with rules. Those of us who are a little more rebellious. It's really nice because there's no one telling you what to do. And I am very sensitive to that personally. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I need to figure it out on my own. And apparently there's a lot of other people like that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we want to be around other people too. So I have people that come to my dance floor, and it's amazing. They're like, I never felt like I belonged until now. And it's a very diverse dance floor. And, and they're just like, I just feel like there's this openness and this welcoming where I just feel like I belong. And it's because people are learning to belong to themselves. They're learning to belong in their own bodies and in their own beings. And then from that space, they're sharing it with these people dancing together. And so it's like, it's like a dance party in your own house. Imagine it with like 300 other people around.
So could you kind of walk us through, like, if you were to go to an ecstatic dance? I'm assuming it's not like a yoga class by any means of, you set up your mat or anything like that.
No, it's not like a yoga class. Although some ecstatic dances, a lot of them will have a class beforehand to kind of just help people arrive in the space, or maybe give them a few ideas of, what might feel good to them to try out on the dance floor. So some dances will have an hour-long class before the dance, which is totally optional. And then the dance starts. Usually the music is very slow. And most people kind of start in a really internal space. And it's just like you're arriving. You're giving yourself time to kind of be there and feeling the music and just arriving in the space and noticing other people around you. Maybe people are stretching. We have mats on the side. And then the music slowly starts to build in intensity. And the ecstatic dances are usually 2 to 3 hours long. My dance on Sunday mornings in Oakland is 2.5 hours long. And so over the course of this 2.5 hours, the music builds slowly until it eventually gets to this ecstatic high, and the whole room is like just jumping up and down and dancing crazy or dancing however they want together. And then it comes back down to stillness. And there's no one leading the dance at all. There's a DJ that's there that's playing the music. And the DJ is kind of like, they're like the shaman. They're the people leading it, but just through the music, not through any words or instructions. And so it's like I tell people, it's like a sober rave. Like you can kind of do whatever you want, as long as you're not harming anyone else. But it's a very free space for freedom of expression. And oftentimes when people come, if they're a little more hesitant, the other people that have been dancing there a while will just give them permission to be however they want, because there's not really any way to do it wrong, and there's not any way to dance too wild or too crazy or too weird. So then at the end, if you can imagine all these people in this room, and the DJ is slowing the music down, and they're bringing it into this kind of space of spaciousness and stillness and heart-centeredness. And, some people dance together. Some people are dancing by themselves. At the ending, some people are sitting on the floor. And eventually everyone makes their way down to the floor, either sitting down or lying down. And then we have a live musician come on to do a sound healing for about 10 minutes at the end. And the live musician is really just a bridge between the DJ and then a meditation that happens after that. So we're like kind of bathed in this live music after we've kind of danced our hearts out. And then we do a little silent meditation at the end to integrate and to invite deep relaxation into our bodies. And then we close. And a lot of people go to a picnic afterwards and connect as a community. And some people make it, whole day thing. And some people just come to the dance, but it's available if people want to hang out with people after that. And what people find mostly after a while is that at first they come for the dance and themselves and the music. And then after a while they come because it's their community, it's their people, and it's their friends. And it's an amazing way to connect with your friends on a regular basis, to dance together.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in any like-minded space like that, or a yoga studio, you naturally are gonna, attract your tribe who are into the same things as you. And that's such a beautiful thing, because for me, my own yoga practice is, I found my partner through yoga. I found my best friends through yoga. Not setting out like that at all. It's so beautiful that you mentioned that. I think, when we show up for ourselves, truly show up for ourselves and do things that make our hearts sing like that, things start to flow as they're supposed to. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's also the element of physicality in it. So this element of when we're fully embodied and showing up for each other, it is the coolest thing. It's like when people first meet in this space of embodiment, in this space of joy, and in the space of dancing, and they see each other and they're like, oh my God, you're just this glowing, beautiful, physically embodied human being. Then when they meet off the dance floor or out of the yoga studio, it's like they still have that image of each other in their minds. And so they're able to connect on that level of wow, this is a really beautifully embodied person. And then so from there, the conversations and the connection is so much deeper than if they had met, at a networking event where they're just talking.
Oh yeah, boring. Who wants to do that anyway?
Right? Yeah.
And I love this idea of ecstatic dance and this bridging the spirituality and embodying that. I mean, I think no matter if you're a woman or a man, but for me as a woman, I feel very called to do embodiment like that. I love meditating and getting outside of my body, but it is so healing. And I feel like I can transmute anything, through embodiment practices. Um, could you kind of talk about maybe through ecstatic dance or other embodiment practices that you find really powerful in your own practice?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, through dancing, I've certainly like just come into contact with deeper and deeper layers of my own body's wisdom, and it's been such a lifelong practice for me. I think I always start. I've been an athlete since I was a kid. I always did a lot of sports as a kid, and then even after I did a lot of yoga and I even taught yoga, but there was always an element for me in it of like pushing myself or kind of overcoming my body's natural resistance to whatever movement I was doing, and kind of like just pushing myself into the different moves or the different exercises. And with through the practice of ecstatic dance, I've learned to just slow down and enjoy it, and to just be like, how does my body want to move to this song? How does my body want to move? Does my body want to dance with this person that's in front of me, or does it not? And to just listen, like not from my mind of what I should do or how I should show up. And it's really enabled me to be less nice. I think that I for a lot of my life I was a pleaser and a people pleaser, and I wanted people to like me and I wanted to be nice. And then all of a sudden I discovered this wisdom from my body, and my body was like, no, you don't have to be nice, you just have to be you, and I'm going to show you who that is. And so it's like this, it's interesting, it's like guided me every step of the way the through so many different things in my life, and through even the creation of ecstatic dance, and through the creation of a lot of things, and through my friendships. And it's just my body's wisdom. And even now I'm like, I had a call with my coach the other day, and he led me through an embodied meditation practice. And I was like, just reminded again, like, oh my God, my body has so much wisdom, and my mind can like make things so complicated. And when I go back to my body's wisdom, it's so clear and simple of like, you know what, like be present, love each other, be kind. Like, it's an interesting thing. And it makes me really sad when I see that people have been disconnected from their body, because it's the only place where we can experience pleasure. It's like a portal to the divine. It's the only place where we can experience that deeper connection to spirit. And there's just so many things that our embodied wisdom can enrich our lives,
And I mean, our tagline for the show is "Your body is not in your way; it's leading your way." So,
Yeah.
1,000%. And
Yeah.
for me, it's such a direct feeling or message, the intuition through my body, rather than verses in my head. It's like you come up with this whole story of why on paper, or maybe this, maybe, like that, and then you just get like a no, like, and that's all you get. Like, and it's like you feel it. All right, I gotta trust it. Like,
yeah, yes, totally right. And is it interesting? Do you find that like the no, so it has different even feeling states, or even even like there's like a million different ways that your body can say no, and a million different ways that it can say yes.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
And it's hard to describe it. It's like when helping somebody, being like, well, you feel expansive, or you feel constricted.
Words are not adequate because words are created from our mind, right?
Yeah. And it's definitely the embodiment and the intuition is you have to experience it. And my yes is going to change but it's also going to be different than your yes. And I'm sure you can talk about how, starting to listen to that voice inside of you probably was not as quiet or was as loud as it is now. For me, it was like I could feel it, but it was almost like I just didn't trust it as much. And, it took me time, and still, I mean, it's a process. I'm like, are you sure? Like, really? Like, really?
Yeah. It's a process. Totally. I mean, for so many years, my body was not a safe place for me to be. I had dealt with sexual trauma and, all sorts of stuff. And so it was like, I couldn't listen to it because it wasn't safe. And so, it was definitely over time, the help of a therapist, with the help of dance and hiking and meditation and, yoga and all the things that dropped me deeper into my body and made it safe and made it like, all right, I don't have to control you and I don't have to be scared of you. I think I was scared of my body for a long time because it didn't always give me pleasure, So it's a process, and it can be a tender and subtle process, right? To really find your way to that trust.
Yeah. I find that sometimes it's, I don't know if it's you're scared of your own potential or your own happiness, but I think that we feel those polarizations of the really bad, quote unquote, or the really good, quote unquote, because we're meant to feel it all. And from my own experience, getting stuck in my head, you really try to limit your range of emotions.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too sad, but you definitely don't want to be too happy, And embodiment work means you feel it all and allowing whatever that is to come through.
Yeah, absolutely. Without judging it. Right. And just being like, getting curious of like, oh, what's there now? And I also found like when I started to get really joyful through being in my body and through ecstatic dance, there were some people that I used to hang around with that I couldn't hang around with anymore, that couldn't tolerate my joy. And so it was interesting. And I started hanging out with other people, and like the people that could have access to a really wide range of emotions. And could reflect that back to me because that's what I needed at that point. So that was an interesting shift too, of, as I shifted internally and toward this expression of just embodying more, period, like more emotions on the entire spectrum and different facets of myself. I started to bring in different people in my life and deeper friendships, like friendships that really where I can just show up exactly as I am, whether it's like this full expression of wild joy or this sadness or numbness or, and it took me a while too to be able to see myself in all the different facets of me, and to just be like, oh, I can, like, things can coexist at the same time, right? Like I can be this like spiritual dance leader and learn to ride a motorcycle and, swear with my brother and go watch comedy or whatever. It's like, I can like bring myself through all these different ways of being in my life. And I think that, the practice of dance really taught me that too, because with the ecstatic dance journey, the music takes you on this whole wild ride of lots of different genres and different emotions. And I remember when I first started dancing, I would get really pissed off if the music would change too quickly. I'd be like, no, I was like going deep into my sorrow or in this memory of joy or whatever. And then it would change and I'd be like, hard to let go of it. But that's how our emotions work too, right? So it's like when we fully embrace the emotion, it's like it shifts and it changes. And dance really taught me how to do that, because like being able to physically move through all that stuff and through the music changing from like, a really bassy, wompy electronic 4 on the floor kind of beat to maybe like a salsa, a salsa tune, if you can imagine. It's like, whoa, that's really different. And like when we can physically move through that, it's similarly our emotions. We can move through our emotions in the same way and navigate that fluidity through them rather than holding on or stopping it or shoving it down or wishing it was different. It's just like this full acceptance.
Yeah, and it sounds like keeps you more present and focused and ready to take on or pivot in your life, whatever comes your way. You can't control what's going to happen, but you can control how you react or show up to that.
Yeah. And just being with what is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Being present with what is. I mean, it's what all the wisdom teachers have been teaching us for ages, right? This is just a different way to experience it.
Yeah. If somebody, there's so many beautiful modalities out there. I probably feel like I've tried most of them. Serial, holistic health, woo-woo, whatever, which I love. And that's why I started this show, because I love learning even more.
Yeah.
If someone's like looking for more in their life and they're not really sure where to go, what to do, maybe this sounds interesting. Could you kind of talk to those people who might be on the fence, like, well, maybe this is for me, maybe this isn't for me, kind of maybe this could be something they could try out?
Yeah. What I always tell people, you can just search ecstatic dance and, find a dance near you. But what I always tell people is that there's zero pressure. Just go. And even if you just sit on the sidelines and witness it, like that's totally okay too. I actually have an interesting story of a friend of mine. She actually, her boyfriend broke up with her. She was a lawyer at the time, and her boyfriend broke up with her and said, whatever, I'm breaking up with you for these reasons. Oh, and also because you can't dance. And she was like, what the heck? And
Whoa.
So like yeah, right. So being a go-getter, she was like, well, screw you. And I'm going to solve this dancing problem and I'm going to figure it out. And she said, even just like thinking about dancing, it gave her like almost a panic attack. And she was like, I'm just going to go and do it. And so she started coming to Ecstatic Dance like every week. She didn't miss a week. And she said the first month she would just go and sit on the stretching mats and stretch and watch people. And for a whole month. And then she like stood up and closed her eyes and turned her back to everyone and like just tried to feel something from the music for the next month. And then she like went up and stood in front of the speakers and like moved for the whole time with her eyes closed again. And then eventually, after about 6 months, she turned around and opened her eyes and was like, oh my God, there's all these people dancing and I can dance with them. And then she just became like, she just fully embodied dancing and was able to be like, I love this. And then she became a sensuality coach and quit being a lawyer and took everything she had learned. Right. So it's like these things that can change your mind. And like, she even looks so different. I mean, and I'm not saying that you have to quit your job and be a sensuality coach, but I'm just saying like that there's no pressure to do it at anyone's pace, but your own. And that there's a lot there if you're willing to be patient and open to it. And even if you go and you're like, these people are really weird. Like I had a friend of mine the other day. She's like, I always go to Ecstatic Dance and I'm like, these people are really weird. They're so like, their expressions are so wild and they're just weird. And then she's like, and then I realized like, oh my God, I'm one of them. So it's like, just jump in and try it or watch or whatever, like, but just go and and feel the vibe and expect that it might be a little bit weird, but that's, that's okay too. But there's no pressure to even dance. That's what I tell everyone.
That's awesome, because I'm sure some days you'll feel like it. Maybe some days you won't feel like it. But to experience that group energy.
Yeah. And most people, what I experience is they come and they sit on the sideline for about 5 minutes. And then they're like, what? This is crazy. And they're in there dancing.
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah. But I mean, what I also hear from people is, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever danced without alcohol. And they're like, I've danced at weddings with alcohol. I've danced at bars with alcohol or clubs or whatever, but this is the first time I've ever danced sober. And it can be a real revelation to people too. That part in particular, it's just like, all right, there's a little adjustment, and then, oh, the music works on me in the same way that alcohol does, and it loosens me up and breathing and being present. And, like, I don't need that in order to have a free experience dancing.
Now, I'm assuming you feel like almost in your own flow state of being in the ecstatic dance in your body. How do you kind of get into your own flow state? Obviously through ecstatic dance, but just day to day, you might catch yourself getting stressed out over something silly, but how do you kind of connect back with yourself? Maybe it's you just bust out a move in the middle of the day. I don't know, but get back to that flow state.
I don't. People always ask me that. Are you just like dancing all day long? I'm like, no, I'm actually in front of my computer working a lot of the time. This is what embodiment, it's a lifetime process. And so I struggle with that. So for so many years, what I would do is I would switch. I would be working, and then I would pause, and I would go and, take a walk around the block, or I would be working and then I would go do some stretches, or, put on a song and dance. But what I've been playing with a lot recently is, how can I be embodied while I'm sitting in front of my computer without having to close my eyes and go inward, right? How can I have this experience of letting my work flow through me? And I'm a writer, so like letting my writing flow through me, and while staying embodied. And the work that I just did with my coach is so it's so poignant to this conversation, is that the meditation that he took me through, I really realized while I'm working, I can tap into the wisdom centers of my body, which are my heart center, my belly, and my womb. And those are the three centers that like really are giving me messages all the time. And then this is the second part, is I can let the wisdom of that flow out through my hands and out through my throat, which are my communication centers. And in order to do that, I have to keep those areas soft and loose and open, and rather than constricting and being tight. So I'm having this whole new experience with work that's really fascinating, of just like, while I'm working, tapping into the wisdom centers of my heart and my belly and my womb, and then like letting it flow out through my voice and through my wrists and my hands. And I practiced it so much on the dance floor, just getting in contact first of all with that stuff, and then now this feels like a whole other layer that I've been exploring lately. And it's cool. It's good work.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm like, oh yes, yeah, I want to try that.
Right? Yeah, try it. It's wild.
I'm just like, I can, like, before I eat, I'm not religious per se, but I definitely take a second, connect to my heart center, and just kind of blossom it open and just take a moment for gratitude to center myself, keep myself present and grateful for the food and everybody who made it and, my loved ones. And because I know, being a health coach, that I need to be in my rest and restore state of being if I'm going to eat, because I struggled with all these digestion issues that kind of got me into this whole world many moons ago. But yeah, and the next level, and I think so many souls listening to this will relate, is like this aligned action through your own work. What you're meant to share with this world. And it doesn't mean that you need to hustle harder. It's really working smarter. When you can tap into that deeper wisdom, it's a channel state. Really. Yeah. It's like you're not doing it. You're just get out of the way. Like, let it go.
Yeah, exactly. And we have this saying, there's a saying that the acro yogis say. They say, go slow to go fast. And what that means is like, go slow to like build the foundation. And then once you have that foundation, that there's like a clarity and a way in which you can like do all the fun stuff afterwards and go fast about it. And I think it's the same thing with embodiment, right? Like, go slow and learn your body's wisdom in whatever way that you can. And then like, once you get that, then there's like the wisdom can just like flow out, and it's so much more clear, and it becomes less complicated because you're not going down all these tributaries that maybe you might have gone down if you're not super connected to that heart space, or you're not like, with eating, it's like, yeah, you're really connecting with your body and what it needs. And so it's similar in that way, right?
I think I've got some ideas flowing through my head right now of like what I want to create or maybe help other people with too. Cause it's like, yeah, showing up in this world, so many times things that we have to work harder and put more things on our plates. But that's really going up in our heads more, because we're rewarded for being successful, of grinding it out and not sleeping and not taking care of ourselves. We all know that.
I just read a quote by Brene Brown that said something like, if you want your life to calm down, stop acting like it's on fire. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, yeah, like there's a slowness and a steadiness that happens when we tap into our bodies that are in a clarity, really, that like helps us cut through all the bullshit and allows us to actually go faster, and without this like spinning of our wheels, that a busyness that so many people are accustomed to. I mean, I know, I was totally accustomed to it, and it took me a while to recognize that, like, it's like the busyness is kind of an addiction, and kept me from really looking into who I was and what I wanted. And it was just so much like doing. And through the practice of really dancing and discovering my own embodied self, I was able to slow down and be like, you know what? I don't need to live for anybody else's expectations of me but my own,
And that is powerful.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the busyness and the stress and the drama is a choice, and it's an addiction, really. And I think our species as a whole over the past like few thousand years is, we've really been in survival mode up until relatively recently, to just survive, to live. And I think that's really encoded in us. And, we still seek out that fear, that drama, or the busyness in different ways. But I feel like what an honor to be here at such a time where we can move past that survival into learning what it means to thrive and the real capabilities of being a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a privilege to be able to do this work. It is such a privilege even to be here listening to this podcast or talking on it. I mean, my grandparents never had the opportunity. They were, like you're saying, busy putting food on the table and dealing with stress and disease and all that stuff. And we are at a point in our lives where we get to do this work and we get to make these changes in ourselves, and they will impact the next generations. I mean, they're already impacting the next generations. I think the younger generations are so much more wise than my generation ever was. And so it's like, yeah, it's a privilege. Not that it's easy, because it's not easy. No. It takes work and effort and courage and bravery, and it is not easy, but it's a privilege for sure.
100%. And I have to say, I don't remember where I read it, but some scientific journal actually studying epigenetics, which is the evolution or changing of genes within one generation. They were saying the emotional memories from up to 13 generations can get passed down through your genetic code. So that means fear, but it also means love, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like the work that you do is science is slowly catching up to this, but it's passing it down through your generations. Had to throw that in there because I love learning out about that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm sure people now are like, I need to go to an ecstatic dance. I know you also offer trainings as well. Could you kind of give us a rundown of all that you offer through ecstatic dance?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I run the Ecstatic Dance International, and the website's ecstaticdance.com. And so we kind of head up, there are a bunch of ecstatic dances that we head up around the world. And then the trainings that I offer is if someone wants to start an ecstatic dance. And I know it's very specific, but if you've had experience with ecstatic dance and you're like, yes, I really want this in my life, I want to bring this to my community, I feel like I'm ready to kind of take on this leadership role. My training really walks people through all of that. And what I'm working on right now, which I haven't yet launched, but I'm super excited about it, is a training of how to tap into your own embodied intelligence through physical activity, and not physical activity that's meant to be like to make you stronger or faster, but physical activity that's meant to get you into your body. So I'm super excited about that as well, but that's not out yet.
Ooh, yes, I'm going to be on the lookout for that.
Yes. And I just wrote a book. I just wrote a memoir. It's called The Messy In Between. And it's about my life after I left my marriage in Ohio and my job in Ohio. And it's about the 2 years in between that I spent really trying to find my way, and all the different ways in which I tried that were unsuccessful and successful. And it's just like, how do we find our way or navigate our way toward more happiness and more joy and more purpose in our lives? And it's my personal story of how I did that and how I discovered ecstatic dance.
Do you have an ETA we can give at all for the listeners for that book?
It should be out. Oh my gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot here with the ETA.
If not, we can link it later.
I don't. We're gonna have to link it later. Yeah, I'm talking to agents right now, so
you're good.
Yeah,
very exciting stuff in the works, though. We covered so much. I feel like we could keep talking for hours, but do you have anything else you wanted to chat about or wrap up before we end the show today?
I think what you're doing is awesome. I love these conversations. I don't have anything else that I feel a burning desire to share. I just feel really gratitude for this work and for what we're doing here.
You and me both so much. And with that side of gratitude, all the listeners know this, each episode, we are so grateful and appreciative of you for not only showing up for us today, but, showing up for yourself. and really providing us with this inspiration and guidance towards, coming back home to our own selves. And so, how may we be of service for you today in return?
Oh, thanks for asking. That's really sweet. And thanks for listening, you guys. This is great. I actually have two things. One is you can be in service by finding an ecstatic dance, and if you can't find one, just putting on some music and dancing, because every time you dance, the world becomes a better place. People become kinder. And I really believe that. So go to an ecstatic dance and get yourself there, or just put on a song and dance around your living room. And the second thing is I'm actually looking for an agent for my book. So if you know of an agent that is focused on memoirs, send them my way.
Awesome. I've got a good feeling about this. Someone's going to know somebody.
Yeah, this book needs to see the light of day. So
Yes.
Let's make it happen.
It's almost, my friend who just wrote a book, she called it her birth doula, or her book doula.
Oh, yeah.
You need a book doula here.
Yeah, it's a whole process. I think everyone should write a memoir. It's like that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Going deep into our own psyches and healing. But yeah.
Well, I can't wait to read it, regardless of who helps you birth this book. But
yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a wonderful time talking with you.
Oh, thanks so much, Lauren. And thank you guys all for listening. This was awesome.
And remember, open up, surrender, trust, and let your body lead the way.